Good day, everyone. I am Jill Filingay Saludes, and today we are going to talk about pragmatic stylistics. So, this report is all about understanding how we use language in our daily lives. It looks at how we choose our words to communicate effectively in different situations. We will explore how language works in real conversations, advertisements, speeches, and even online chats. So, our objective for today is at the end of the report, you will be able to understand pragmatic stylistics along with its key concepts, context, language use, pragmatic stylistics in literature, and in everyday communication. Now, let us define first what is pragmatic stylistics. So, pragmatic stylistics explores how language is used in context to create meaning. It draws from linguistics, psychology, sociology, and literary studies. The pragmatic stylistics is like a mix of two things. First is pragmatics, which is about how we use language in context, and stylistics, which is about how we make our language sounds interesting or meaningful. It helps us see how people use language tricks to get their message across. In pragmatic stylistics, we pay attention to things like hidden meanings, like ways of being polite, types of speech actions, and special words or phrases that guide a conversation or discourse. These ideas helps us understand how language isn't just about what is said, but how it is said. So, understanding how language works helps us in a lot of ways. It can help teachers teach language better, shows us more about how people interact, and even helps us understand the role of language in society. Looking ahead, we'll keep exploring new ways of people use language, especially online, to keep up with how communication is changing. Pragmatic stylistics is like magnifying glass for language. It helps us see the small details that makes a big difference in how we talk and understand each other. As we keep learning, we will uncover more about the fascinating world of language in action. Pragmatic stylistics is simply about looking how we use language in different situations to make sense of what is being said. It is like studying how we talk in real life, not just in books or stories. We use ideas from different areas like language science, understanding how our mind works and how society influences us, and even how stories are made. By putting all these pieces together, we can understand better how language creates meaning in everyday life. So next is the key concepts in pragmatic stylistics. So speech act theory, which is utterances not only convey information but also perform actions. Politeness theory, how politeness strategies influence communication, and implicature, inferred meanings beyond literal interpretation. So, let us define first what is speech act theory. So, speech act theory is all about thinking of speech as not just words, but actions too. When we talk, we're not only sharing information, but also doing things like asking or promising or even inviting. So, saying, "Can you pass the salt?" isn't just a question, right? It is also a request for someone to pass the salt. So, next is politeness theory. This is all about how we use language to be nice to each other. Sometimes we say things a certain way to show respect or to avoid hurting someone's feelings. So just like for example, instead of saying give me that, we might say could you please pass that? So it's about being polite and making sure everyone feels comfortable in a conversation. Last is implicature. So sometimes what we mean goes beyond the words we say. So implicature is like reading between the lines. For instance, if someone says, "It's hot in here," they might not be talking about the temperature, but They might be hinting that they want a window open or the air conditioning turned on. It's about understanding the hidden meaning behind what someone says. So, next is let's proceed to the context and language use. Context is crucial in shaping language use and interpretations. Factors like culture, social status, and relationship dynamics influence communication. Context is like the background of a conversation or situation. It includes things like where we are, who we're talking to, and what's happening around us. This context shapes the words we choose and how we understand what others says. So for example, imagine you are talking to a friend at a party. The language you use might be casual and relaxed because of the informal setting. But if you are in a job interview, you'd probably use more formal language because the context is different, right? So factors like culture, social status, and relationship dynamics also affect how we communicate. So different cultures have different ways of speaking and understanding language. Someone someone's social status or position in society can influence how they talk to other and how they are spoken to. So, next is let's proceed to pragmatic stylistics in literature. Authors use pragmatic devices to convey characters' intentions and interpersonal dynamics. So, we will analyze literary text to uncover deeper meanings. Readers infer pragmatic meaning through dialogue, structure, and characterization. So authors use clever tricks in writing to show what characters are thinking and how they interact with each other. We will take a close look at stories and books to find out what's really going beneath the surface. So when we read, we don't just focus on words themselves. We pay attention to how characters talk to each other, how the story is put together, and what the characters are like. So, for example, if a character says something sarcastic, we might understand that they are not really happy about what's going on, even if they're saying it with a smile, right? So, let us proceed to pragmatic stylistics in everyday communication. So, everyday interactions are governed by pragmatic principles. Context, social norms, and power dynamics shape communication strategies. So, we'll examine examples of pragmatic communication in daily lives. So, when we say pragmatic principle, these are like rules or guidelines we follow when we talk to each other every day. They help us communicate effectively and understand each other better. So, when we say context, this means that the situation or surroundings where communication happens, for example, how you talk to your friends might be different from how you talk to your boss because of the different context. Next is social norms. So these are the unwritten rules or of behavior in a society. They influence how we speak to others. For instance, saying please and thank you is a social norm in many places. And lastly is the power dynamics. This is about who has control or influence in a conversation. So for example, a teacher might have more power than a student in a classroom setting, so their communication might reflect that difference in power. So, when we talk about pragmatic communication in daily life, we're looking at how these principles, context, norms, and power dynamics affect how we talk to each other and understand each other in our everyday interaction. So, just like for example, greeting someone. So, when you greet someone, you consider various factors such as the context or the setting, like formal and informal. So, that was all about pragmatic stylistics. Once again, I am Jill Fulinti Saludas and thank you for listening and paying attention to this report.